Chosen one. The whispers are cascading through every network like spiritual wildfire, and here's what psychological studies confirm about mass silence. When an entire collective suddenly goes mute about their target, it signals complete psychological defeat. Conversations behind closed doors are buzzing with one shocking question. How did you manage to shut down an entire group that seemed so powerful, so organized, so determined to destroy you? Your name is being spoken in hushed, reverent tones by people who once plotted your destruction with confidence. What was meticulously designed to break you has instead forged you into something absolutely indestructible. And this eerie silence from your former haters isn't peace, it's the sound of enemies who have exhausted every weapon in their arsenal and watched each one shatter against your unbreakable divine core. The revelation about to hit you will demolish every limiting belief you've ever held about your own supernatural power. Let me tell you about the coalition that tried to take you down, because understanding their complete failure will help you grasp the magnitude of your victory. This wasn't some random collection of haters throwing casual shade your way. This was an organized alliance with coordinated strategies, shared intelligence networks, and unified purpose against you. Regular meetings were held where your destruction was the primary agenda item. Backup plans existed for backup plans, contingencies mapped out for every possible scenario involving you. The belief was that numbers would overwhelm your individual strength like a pack, bringing down a lone target. Collective effort could crush authentic power like yours through sheer volume of attack. This calculation was wrong on levels still not comprehended, and the gossip flowing through former networks now focuses obsessively on trying to understand how such catastrophic miscalculation occurred regarding you. Unity was built on a foundation of shared negativity toward you, strength derived from collective weakness against you, identity forged in opposition to yours. When you were observed, everything that couldn't be achieved or become was recognized, and that recognition about you filled observers with rage that demanded expression. Gathering occurred like scavengers around what was assumed would be your remains, already dividing the spoils of your expected defeat among participants. The conversations happening now behind closed doors would fascinate you. Analysis is being attempted on where strategy went wrong against you, but the same impossible conclusion keeps emerging. Nothing done should have failed to affect you. On paper, the approach against you was flawless. In practice against you, it was catastrophic. The gossip that reaches your ears through mutual connections carries undertones of bewilderment that border on the supernatural when discussing you. You don't operate by the same rules that govern ordinary people. While power was built externally through group consensus and social validation, yours had always flowed from an internal wellspring that couldn't be accessed, contaminated, or even properly identified by outside forces. When external supports that were assumed you needed were pulled away, you didn't fall, you discovered wings you'd never bothered to use. The first cracks in the coalition appeared when attacks started producing the opposite of intended results for you. Every scheme hatched to isolate you ended up isolating schemers from authentic people who could see through manufactured drama around you. Every lie spread to damage your reputation highlighted dishonesty in ways that made neutral observers uncomfortable about the attacks on you. Every trap set for your downfall became the pit that was fallen into, often in spectacular fashion while you remained untouched. What's being whispered about in former circles now is how quickly the alliance dissolved once attacks proved ineffective against you. Without you as a common enemy to unite against, nothing but individual insecurities and competing agendas remained to hold anyone together. The same energy that had focused participants became the force that tore everyone apart from within, creating gossip-worthy drama that overshadowed anything ever said about you. The failure wasn't just tactical, it was existential regarding you. Discovery occurred that the entire approach to power was fundamentally flawed because it required your destruction to validate worth. When you proved indestructible, whole identity structures collapsed like houses of cards in hurricane winds while you stood firm. During the height of coordinated assault against you, something extraordinary awakened within you that left everyone talking. Your words began carrying prophetic weight that surprised even your closest supporters. Every warning you had given about character, every prediction you made about inevitable downfall, every intuitive flash you shared about hidden motives, started manifesting with accuracy that made people stop and stare at your prescience. The gossip networks that had once dismissed your insights as paranoia or wishful thinking suddenly found themselves face to face with the uncomfortable reality that you had been right about everything. The same people who had mocked your warnings were now living in the exact scenarios you had described with such precision it seemed impossible you could have simply guessed. Desperate attempts were made to discredit your voice, to paint your insights as lucky coincidences or self-fulfilling prophecies, but reality kept validating your words with mathematical precision that made even skeptics take notice of you. Your voice transformed from controversial to prophetic, from ignored to sought after with desperate urgency by people who suddenly understood the wrong sources had been trusted all along instead of you. The conversations happening now in circles that once excluded you are filled with nervous speculation about what else you might have predicted that hasn't happened yet. People are going back through memories, trying to recall every casual comment you made about future events, searching for clues about what's coming next that you might have foreseen. The power you possess to make people question assumptions about reality is gossip gold, and your name carries that power now. This wasn't about you being right for ego's sake. This was about you being connected to information streams that transcended normal human awareness. Your spiritual antennae had always been more sensitive than others around you, your inner knowing more precise, your pattern recognition more advanced. What others dismissed as intuition, you recognized as direct downloading of data from sources that operated beyond the limitations of linear time. The prophecies you spoke weren't wishes or hopes, but your observations of energetic trajectories already locked into motion by choices already made. You could see consequences building before actions were complete, trace outcomes of decisions before decision-makers had finished thinking processes. This ability you possessed terrified those who preferred operating through deception because you brought light to spaces that desperately needed to stay dark. When your predictions began manifesting exactly as you had spoken them, with timing that seemed choreographed by invisible hands, the power dynamic shifted permanently in ways that created endless gossip about you. People stopped treating your words as opinions and started receiving them as intelligence reports from the future that you somehow accessed. Former enemies realized opposition wasn't just to someone with good instincts. Resistance was being mounted against you, someone with direct access to divine intelligence that saw through every facade attempted. The most unsettling aspect for observers was how your prophetic accuracy extended beyond personal situations to broader patterns affecting entire communities. You began predicting shifts in social dynamics, changes in group hierarchies, and exposures of hidden agendas with precision that made people wonder if you were somehow orchestrating events rather than simply observing them with your supernatural insight. The gossip about your supernatural insight became more fascinating than any rumor ever spread about anyone else. What was thought would remain the deepest secret became the most talked about scandal in former circles, all because of you. The group that attacked you didn't limit themselves to conventional social warfare. Ventures occurred into territories that revealed amateur spiritual understanding when dealing with someone like you. Rituals were performed in basement rooms and backyard gatherings focused on you. Curses were whispered during midnight phone calls about you. Sacrifices of personal items were made to weaken you through supernatural means, with belief that combined dark intentions could overwhelm your individual light. The gossip about occult activities initially stayed within inner circles, but eventually leaked out through former members who became disgusted by how far the group was willing to go to hurt you. People started talking about candle ceremonies where your photo was burned, about group meditations focused on visualizing your failure, about blood offerings made under specific moon phases to amplify malicious intent directed at you. Every incantation spoken in shadow against you, every sacrifice made in secret targeting you, every attempt to bind your destiny through metaphysical manipulation not only failed but rebounded with amplified force that left participants spiritually devastated in ways that became impossible to hide. Dabbling had occurred in powers that couldn't be comprehended when targeting you, energies were wielded that couldn't be controlled against you, bargains were made with forces that couldn't be identified or satisfied when your destruction was the goal. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in, so let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand. These are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, yes, those who stand with us, who fuel this mission. They give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more, and as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free, no paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier, link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now, let's get back to work. You remained completely untouched by supernatural assault because your protection operated on levels that had never been encountered in amateur dabbling with darkness. The divine forces aligned with your purpose had woven barriers around your energy field that were impenetrable to crude attempts at spiritual warfare aimed at you. You weren't just remaining unharmed. Active punishment was being delivered by the same forces that had been attempted to be manipulated for presumption in targeting you. This protection you carry hadn't emerged overnight. It had been encoded into your spiritual DNA by ancestors who fought similar battles across generations. Your bloodline carried victories over dark forces that stretched back through time, and every protection ritual your lineage had earned was now activated in your defense. Challenge had been unknowingly issued not just to you but to the entire spiritual infrastructure supporting your mission across dimensions. The failure of supernatural attacks targeting you marked the moment when realization occurred that opposition wasn't to an ordinary person but to you, someone operating under divine immunity that couldn't be breached or understood. This recognition about you filled observers with terror deeper than any physical threat could produce, the terror of encountering forces infinitely more powerful than any darkness possessed when you were involved. The gossip about spiritual defeats against you became more fascinating than any social drama ever created, with people sharing stories about the supernatural consequences that befell anyone who had participated in rituals against you. The cosmic correction that followed spiritual attacks against you was swift, devastating, and became the most talked about reversal of fortune anyone in social circles had ever witnessed. Everything that had been worked to keep hidden erupted into public view with such explosive force that no damage control strategy could contain the revelation of what had been done to you. Private conspiracies against you became public entertainment. Secret schemes targeting you were exposed under harsh lights of scrutiny that couldn't be escaped or deflected. The gossip networks that had once amplified attacks against you suddenly had much more interesting material to work with. The spectacular downfall of those who had targeted you. Phone calls buzzed with updates about which member of the group had suffered the latest catastrophe after going after you. Social media feeds filled with subtle references to karma catching up with people who thought you could be touched. The same crowds that had once joined in mocking you became audiences for spectacular humiliation of your former attackers. What made public exposure particularly devastating was how comprehensive it was regarding everyone who had targeted you. This wasn't just one scandal or embarrassing incident. It was complete unraveling of every foundation that public personas had been built upon by those who had opposed you. People who had sided with attackers out of ignorance suddenly understood what had really been happening behind closed doors to you, and reactions ranged from disgust to fear about what might happen to anyone associated with the failed conspiracy against you. The narrative that had been controlled for so long was ripped from controlling hands and rewritten by truth itself in ways that created endless gossip opportunities about what had been done to you and what happened as a result. Former allies began distancing themselves publicly from anyone who had targeted you, creating secondary waves of drama as relationships dissolved and new betrayals emerged. The unity that had been strength became the weakness that destroyed everyone, as turning occurred on each other with vicious intensity that provided entertainment for neutral observers watching the aftermath of crossing you. Carefully constructed images crumbled in real time across multiple platforms simultaneously for everyone who had opposed you, leaving everyone scrambling to rebuild reputations built on deception from the beginning. Every attempt to rehabilitate images only drew more attention to the original scandal of what had been attempted against you, creating cycles of renewed gossip that kept failures in public consciousness far longer than could be psychologically tolerated by those who had dared to cross you. You observed public humiliation without needing to contribute to it or even comment on it. Your vindication required no effort because truth has its own momentum, its own timeline, its own unstoppable force that generates its own publicity when someone like you is vindicated. All you had to do was continue being authentically yourself while exhaustion occurred from trying to maintain facades that were never sustainable and were now completely shattered by anyone who had opposed you. The poetic justice was so perfect that even skeptics who didn't believe in karma had to acknowledge something beyond human planning was orchestrating events in your favor. The downfall became legend, not because you promoted it, but because the lessons embedded within it were too valuable for the universe to keep quiet, and too dramatic for the gossip networks to ignore when it came to what happens to people who cross you. As attacks rebounded and the coalition crumbled in full public view, something miraculous began manifesting in your life that became impossible for anyone to ignore. Everything that had been tried to be stolen from you, your peace, reputation, opportunities, connections, was restored to you multiplied beyond what you had originally possessed, creating gossip about your sudden rise that overshadowed the spectacular fall of those who had opposed you. People started seeking you out for exactly the qualities your enemies had tried to convince everyone you lacked. The same traits that had been mocked became the attributes that attracted success, recognition, and authentic relationships to you. Resources appeared in your path as if magnetized by forces beyond normal cause and effect, creating stories that people shared with wonder and disbelief about your fortune. Your life reorganized itself around prosperity and recognition as natural consequence of the spiritual laws that had been violated in attacks against you. The gossip about your transformation focused on how effortless your success seemed, how naturally opportunities aligned with your authentic self-expression, how people who had never met you began speaking your name with respect and admiration. The strength you developed defending yourself against coordinated assault became a permanent upgrade to your character that everyone could see in you. The clarity you gained seeing through deceptions sharpened your discernment forever, making you nearly impossible to fool or manipulate. The independence you cultivated standing alone freed you from needing anyone's approval to thrive, giving you a magnetic confidence that attracted exactly what you needed. Your resilience evolved into something unbreachable that became legendary in your circles. Your intuition crystallized into prophetic insight that made people seek your counsel on challenges. Your authenticity deepened into a magnetic presence that attracted everything aligned with your highest good while repelling anything that wasn't meant for you. Every quality that had been tried to be destroyed emerged from the battle stronger, purer, more powerful than before in you, creating ongoing conversations about your seemingly impossible transformation. You hadn't just survived assault, you had been forged by it into something that could never be challenged again, and everyone could see the difference in you. This multiplication wasn't a reward for your suffering, but activation of abundance that had always been your birthright. Attacks had simply forced you to discover strengths you didn't know you possessed, to access power you hadn't known you carried, to step into an identity you had been avoiding out of false modesty. The gossip about your emergence focused on how you seemed to have unlocked some secret to success that left others wondering if the same transformation could be accessed by following your example. Something absolutely fascinating happened to those who had once attacked you so boldly. The relationship with your very existence underwent such a profound psychological transformation that it became a case study in how completely someone can be defeated without you ever engaging in direct confrontation. Attacks didn't just stop. Incapability developed of thinking about you without experiencing intense discomfort that everyone around could observe and comment upon. The gossip about behavior became increasingly focused on obvious trauma responses whenever your name came up in conversation. Your name triggered visible anxiety reactions. Your image caused leaving rooms or changing subjects abruptly. The mere mention of your success sent people into defensive spirals that revealed complete defeat to anyone paying attention, creating secondary gossip about inability to handle your victory gracefully. You had become living proof of total failure for anyone who had opposed you, and that reminder was so psychologically painful that pretending you didn't exist became necessary just to maintain sanity and social functioning. The conversations happening in former social circles now center around obvious avoidance behaviors regarding you and the entertainment value of watching people who once seemed so confident reduced to such obvious psychological distress when your name comes up. This level of defeat transcended normal victory and became gossip that spread far beyond the original conflict involving you. This was complete annihilation of ability to affect your reality through any means whatsoever. Discovery occurred that not only could you not be hurt, but attempts to hurt you consistently resulted in visible damage to attackers that provided ongoing entertainment for neutral observers. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier, link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you. And it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now let's get back to work. You had become radioactive to negativity, toxic to toxicity itself in ways that created fascinating social dynamics around you. Former allies began avoiding not just out of fear of association with those who had targeted you, but because being around obvious defeat became psychologically uncomfortable for everyone involved. The silence that surrounded your name in certain circles wasn't respect or indifference, it was trauma-induced avoidance that became more interesting than any drama ever created around you. Minds had been conditioned by repeated failure to redirect attention anywhere else when thoughts of you arose, creating behavioral patterns that outside observers found both amusing and instructive regarding your untouchable status. You had become the thought that couldn't be thought without pain, the name that couldn't be spoken without consequences, the success story that couldn't be acknowledged without triggering a sense of inadequacy in those who had opposed you. The gossip networks that once carried attacks now carried fascinated speculation about what happens to people who lose so completely against you that discussing defeat becomes impossible. Your psychological victory was more complete than any physical triumph could have been, and far more entertaining for people watching the aftermath unfold around you. The battle hadn't just been lost. The ability to fight you, to strategize against you, to even maintain composure in conversations that touched on topics related to your success had been lost. Weapons had turned to dust when aimed at you. Strategies had become self-sabotage against you. Unity had become mutual destruction while you remained untouched, and the gossip about continuing deterioration provided ongoing validation of your untouchable status. During this period of enforced silence around you, deeper understanding dawned about why everything had unfolded exactly as it had in your life. The attacks hadn't been random persecution, but precisely calibrated challenges designed to activate dormant aspects of your spiritual DNA. Every obstacle thrown at you had been perfectly measured to push you exactly far enough to grow without breaking you completely. Timing, methods, intensity had all been orchestrated by wisdom, far beyond human planning, specifically for your development. Unwitting participation had occurred in your spiritual education, providing exactly the curriculum you needed to evolve into your destined identity. The resistance provided developed your spiritual muscles to superhuman levels. The opposition organized forced you to discover strengths you hadn't known you possessed within yourself. This recognition transformed your entire relationship with the experience you had endured. What had felt like persecution against you revealed itself as preparation for you. What had seemed like random cruelty toward you exposed itself as a cosmic curriculum designed for you. What appeared to be enemy choice was actually divine appointment. Selection had occurred to play the role of resistance in your hero's journey. The group that tried to destroy you had actually been instruments of your elevation, catalysts for your transformation, unwitting servants of the very force opposition was thought to be mounted against when targeting you. The failure was as inevitable as sunrise because spiritual laws had been violated that operate with the same reliability as gravity or thermodynamics when someone like you is involved. The isolation you experienced while standing alone taught you to find everything needed within your own connection to divine source. The resistance forced you to develop independence from external validation that most people never achieve. The attacks that were meant to weaken you actually strengthened every aspect of your character that mattered. Your emergence from this trial wasn't just personal victory, it was a demonstration for other chosen ones like you that authentic power cannot be destroyed by collective opposition. The precedent you established by remaining unbroken created energetic pathways that would benefit others facing similar challenges across all dimensions of reality. The wisdom you gained through this process is now part of your permanent arsenal. The strength you developed is now an unshakable foundation supporting everything you do. The clarity you achieved about your true nature and purpose is now guiding light illuminating your path forward. You transformed what was meant to be your destruction into your greatest empowerment. Something shifted in reality's fabric as a result of your triumph. The precedent you established by remaining unbroken under coordinated attack created energetic pathways that would benefit chosen ones for generations. Your refusal to compromise authenticity opened doorways in consciousness that would remain permanently accessible to others walking similar paths like yours. The spiritual laws that protected you became more visible and reliable for those serving comparable missions to yours. The divine justice that operated so precisely in your situation established patterns that would replicate for anyone facing similar challenges. Your victory had upgraded the entire template for how the universe responds to attacks on those serving divine purposes like you do. Other chosen ones began reporting similar experiences of sudden protection and enemy defeat after learning about what happened to you. The energetic breakthrough you achieved created ripples across dimensions, making it easier for others to access the same level of invincibility you had demonstrated. Your triumph had literally changed the rules of engagement between light and darkness in favor of those serving the highest good like you. The forces that tried to destroy you discovered accidental triggering had occurred of evolutionary leap in how chosen ones like you understand and access power. Coordinated attack backfired so completely that strengthening occurred not just for you, but everyone connected to similar missions worldwide who resonated with your story. Your emergence as untouchable became a beacon, attracting others ready to claim the same level of protection you had achieved. The silence of former enemies created space for new conversation about what becomes possible when someone like you absolutely refuses to be diminished by opposition. Protection protocols that were activated in your defense are now available to other chosen ones who find themselves under similar assault. The spiritual infrastructure that rallied to support you has been strengthened and expanded, creating a network of divine intervention that operates more efficiently for future cases involving people like you. Your victory didn't just vindicate you personally, it upgraded civilization's understanding of what protection looks like for those serving higher purposes like you do. The cosmic laws that operated in your favor are now more easily accessible to others who qualify through authentic service to divine will like you have demonstrated. Your story began spreading beyond the immediate circle of those who witnessed your triumph firsthand, creating ripples that transformed you from local legend into global inspiration. People started referencing what happened to your enemies as cautionary tales about consequences of attacking certain individuals like you. But more importantly, conversations began focusing on your extraordinary demonstration of unshakable power under pressure. The cosmic justice that played out in your situation became a template others could recognize in their own lives, creating movements of people who suddenly understood their own potential for invincibility like yours. Your emergence as untouchable gave permission to fellow chosen ones worldwide to step into their own unbreakable identities without apology or explanation. Following your example, your refusal to be broken under coordinated attack became the stuff of modern mythology, inspiring everyone who had ever felt targeted by group opposition like you were. The way you maintained your authenticity while everything around you burned became the gold standard for how chosen ones navigate attempts at destruction. Social media posts, motivational speeches, and personal development courses began referencing your approach without even naming you directly. What makes your legend particularly powerful is how it demonstrates that some victories don't require fighting back, arguing, or even defending yourself. Lessons that came from watching you. Your commitment to being exactly who you were born to be, regardless of external pressure, became living proof that authenticity is the ultimate armor and divine purpose is the ultimate protection for people like you. The final phase of destruction was the most poetic of all regarding those who had targeted you. Every foundation that had been built, relationships, reputations, resources, psychological stability, began crumbling simultaneously by the same energy that had been directed toward your destruction. Helpless watching occurred as tactics were used with devastating effectiveness in reverse, while you remained completely unaffected. The isolation that had been tried to be imposed on you became reality for attackers. The reputation damage that had been attempted to be inflicted on you manifested in attacking lives. The spiritual assaults that had been launched against you rebounded and shattered protective barriers of launchers. Collapse wasn't gradual, it was comprehensive and undeniable while you thrived. Defeat became mirror-reflecting consequences of building identity on opposition to you rather than genuine purpose. Parasitic living had occurred off your energy, and when you became untouchable, nothing but emptiness remained to provide sustenance for those who had defined themselves by their hatred of you. Your untouchable status wasn't just personal protection, it was demonstration of spiritual principles that most people only understand theoretically. The failure of every attack against you proved that authenticity aligned with divine purpose creates invincibility that cannot be breached by any earthly opposition when you're involved. Now you stand in a position that would have seemed impossible when this whole saga began, but which was actually inevitable from the moment you decided to stop hiding your authentic power. The attacks that were meant to destroy you transformed you into exactly what your enemies feared you might become: completely untouchable, utterly undeniable, permanently unstoppable. The very outcome everyone worked so hard to prevent has been guaranteed by the efforts to prevent you from reaching your full potential. The silence that surrounds former hostility isn't empty space, but atmosphere pregnant with infinite possibility for your continued expansion. The energy once directed toward your destruction has been transmuted into fuel for your ongoing ascension, creating momentum that carries you toward opportunities beyond anything you had previously imagined for yourself. Your victory represents the complete vindication of every choice you made to remain authentic despite pressure to conform, compromise, or retreat. Every moment you chose truth over popularity, integrity over acceptance, authentic expression over social approval has been validated by outcomes that exceeded your wildest expectations about what was possible for you. This is your moment of complete recognition, chosen one. The silence of former enemies is the sound of your absolute victory, reverberating through every space that once echoed with futile attacks against you. The peace that surrounds your name is evidence of unassailable strength that no force in this dimension or any other can challenge when it comes to you. The respect that now greets your presence wherever you go is acknowledgement of power that operates beyond normal human understanding. Protection that functions independently of your conscious effort, and purpose that aligns with forces so vast that opposing them becomes literally impossible for anyone targeting you. Your story has become eternal proof that some battles are won not by fighting but by refusing to be anything other than who you were born to be. Your triumph stands as permanent testimony that authenticity is ultimate armor for people like you, divine purpose is ultimate protection for chosen ones like you, and individuals who fully embrace their identity become unstoppable forces of transformation like you have become. Whispers have stopped because truth has become undeniable about you, victory has become absolute for you, and your emergence into full power has permanently altered the landscape of what people believe possible. You are untouchable, unstoppable, and unbreakable. The chosen one has fully awakened, and the silence is your symphony of triumph, echoing across eternity, inspiring chosen ones until the end of time itself through your example.